Today I'm going to explain to you how to buy your first investment property using a durian. If you don't know what's a durian, it's an Asian fruit. Smells nice. And just like investment properties, a lot of Asians love it. But then there are some Asians that don't like it, usually due to the smell. But then those are peasant Asians. And to quote my uncle in Hong Kong, no tasty, sick yeah. And just like buying an investment property, it's spiky business. And just to zoom in a bit, you see these spikes? They're also called spruiks, which means when you're buying an investment property, there's a lot of spruikers around. And in order to buy an investment property successfully, you need to navigate through the spikes, just like this durian, in order to open it up to gain the fruits of reward inside. And before you open a durian, just like before you buy your first investment property, you need to look around the fruit to see whether there's an opening. And there is. There's a slight opening for you to open this durian. But in order to find the opening, just to gain the fruits inside, you need to find someone who's a professional, like someone who does 4-minute TikToks. I don't know who that person is. In order to navigate through the spikes so that you don't get spiked and hurt. And they can help you by using their 15 years of experience of durian opening or investment property purchasing experience to help you open the durian through the right passage. If this durian holds your future investment property, well, it's pretty hard to crack the skin to get in because, there's potential RBA rate rises, which affects your borrowing power. And then you got to convince banks to give you a pre-approval. But then if you use a very experienced broker and a property investor themselves, then they can help you crack open and you can get your first taste of your investment property. Let's take a look. And once you get through all the spikes, which is the spruikers and the misinformation, and you obtain your pre-approval finally and all your budget is set, you can then go into the property market. You see this? This is liquid gold. This is equity in your property. But mind you, this is just one segment of the property market. There's different chambers or different segments of the property market that you can access. But if you can afford it, you can grab your hands on your first property. And if you purchase right, in a few years, you can sink your teeth into pure liquid gold equity. Now guys, when you're eating durian, you can get pretty full quickly as a fruit. That's a metaphor of maxing out your equity. Sorry, I'm drooling because it's so tasty. So then you're left with just the seed. And then what happens is you put the seed back into your property portfolio, you close it, you leave that property alone, and that liquid gold will do its thing and grow back equity in time. And that's when you'll flip the durian over, find another opening, which is probably over here, navigate through the spikes, which again is the RBA and getting a pre-approval, and then cracking opening another sub-segment of the property market, which is another one over here. Woo! And this is a great example of the property market using durian as a metaphor. Sometimes your first purchase in that period, there's a lot of properties that you can choose from. There are in some periods, in some sector of the market, there's only one property, which means people are fighting for one piece of morsel, which means price goes up. Sometimes when you buy a property, for example, interstate, you get these little cheap property, but there's no bloody equity. Look at that, it's so small. So remember guys, buying a property is like opening a durian, okay? So sometimes in order to get into the property market and get your hands and your lips all over the liquid gold over here, yummy, you still need to prove servicing power. You need the power to open it up. Your income, your budgeting expertise in terms of savings, your living expenses. If you can't have that borrowing power, you can't open it. Even with an experienced broker in terms of navigating through all these spikes and spruikers and dangers, I can't help you open it if you don't have the servicing power. But if you do have the right income, the right servicing power, well, the world is your durian. Nice. Guys, jump in the comments. Let me know what you think. Love to answer any questions that you may have.